Alright, so this video here I'm going to show you kind of how to set up a room and then set cabinets and modify cabinets within Mozaik. This is kind of an entry-level video. I'm not going to be going over any of the settings within Mozaik as far as like the parameters. I may do a separate video on that. I'm going to just basically show how to draw a simple room. In this case here it's going to be a small bathroom with a linen cabinet and a bathroom vanity. And we're going to set a toilet and add some other graphical features as well, such as a light fixture and a mirror, sink, and faucet. Alright, so let's get into this here. So I'm going to start a new job, go on the file, click new, and here it's going to enter your job name. So one of the things that I do in Mozaik to kind of keep track of different revisions of the job. This is the very first of this job, so I'm going to call it Rev 0, meaning it's the original revision of the job, but if I make changes somewhere down the line, it'll be Rev 1, Rev 2, so on and so forth. So right now I'll just stick with Rev 0. Okay, so pretty much all of this in the field here on the left-hand side is all optional. Job name may be different than customer. Job name may be a contractor name, and then the customer may be the customer of the contractor. And then your site address, things like that, phone number, email, and again, this is whether you're going to put the contractor or the end user, such as the homeowner, in here is entirely up to you. Now, this one here, where it says drawings, this would be a couple of different things. I don't really use this one too much. From my understanding, though, is that you can actually look at earlier revisions, possibly. Not for certain. Something I kind of wish I'd kind of play around with a little bit more, but right now it's not really something I really need to show in this video. Pictures. This would be something if you took pictures of the site. Maybe pictures of the plumbing, for example, if you want to, with measurements, things like that. That's where you kind of enter your pictures, and when you click on that, it'll just bring you to a folder for that job name. So if I would have taken pictures, I would basically enter those pictures, save them into this folder, which is basically Mozaik jobs. This is the job name, Jacobson revision Rev 0, bathroom Rev 0, and pictures. And you just basically call the picture whatever you want. But I don't have any pictures for this job. If you needed to edit something here, you click on the edit button, and here's where you can rename it. Job parameters. Oops. Okay, I don't have job parameters set up yet. You can lock the job, so that way if you try to make changes on it, will not. And then obviously there's room names. So right now Mozaik's default is room 1, so everything goes into room 1. But if you were doing an entire house, for example, you'd have multiple rooms, and I believe you can actually call the rooms differently. So you can call it kitchen, master bath, lower level bathroom, things like that. Okay. We're just going to kind of go into the basics for this part of the video. So the next tab here is settings. So this is where you're going to pick out your doors and drawer fronts for this tab. Last time I ran this software, this is the profile that was set up. Again, these are the templates here. These are multiple different templates. Some actually come from Mozaik, and I've actually generated a lot of my own. We're going to stick with this one here, but if, for example, if I were to change, let's just click on mission, for example, it's going to basically want to override the current room settings with template mission. If I click yes, it's going to change whatever I originally had set up for it. So for this particular door profile, it looks to have a different color. Drawer boxes for me are always the same. Always the same drawer box, the same hardware regardless. The end panels match the existing door style. Materials would be different. This one here, it's solid wood birch doors. FP for me stands for flat panel. Standard drawer box material. Standard cabinet materials birch. And again, I could change that to whatever I wanted to, but that's just how the profile is set up. And if I go into textures, this is where you can select different textures for that profile. But again, this is all customizable. This is just basically a template to get started with. Libraries, this is where you can set up different overlays, and it works pretty good, but we're just going to leave it for the time being. Oh, I guess. Okay. You can see here now that it's actually changed to that profile. This one here I always get a little confused on, but I hardly ever change it because most every job that we run is typically a 1/2 inch overlay. And miscellaneous, this is just, you know, some miscellaneous things if you're doing closets, closet rods. And specs, I've never really dabbled into this. At some point in time I'll probably start digging this a little bit more, but for what I want to show in this video, I'm just trying to keep it simple. So we're going to go back to doors and drawer fronts. I'm going to go back to the one I originally wanted here, which was called Eden Valley. I'm going to click on that. It's going to override the entire profile. There we go. Let's see here. So real briefly, these here are all editable. So even though the door style I have created for this library calls for these particular settings, in this case here, this is my outside door profile number, this is my inside profile number, and this is the panel profile number, I could change any one of them right here. Or if I were to click on the door, oh, here we go. Let me find it here. These are typically arranged in alphabetical order. Here we go, Eden Valley. However, if you make changes, they always wind up in the bottom, and then you can actually sort these. But anyways, this is what I was talking about. These are the profiles. This is the outside edge, inside edge, and then the panel. Okay. You can change your hardware. These are just preloaded. In this case here, I actually want to make sure it's all the same. All right. If you were to change to a different hinge, you can use your base hinge, wall hinge. I'm using the same hinge regardless of both. It's the Bloom 38N with the soft close, and I'm not doing locks. Okay, drawer tray boxes. So basically a tray is a pull-out drawer. It's a drawer we'd put in a base cabinet or in a pantry, maybe in your lower section, to make it, instead of using adjustable shelves, you'd have basically drawers without drawer fronts. I typically call them pull-outs, but slide-out shelf is another one. But I'm running the same ones for these here. So this is the parameter I have set up for this. It's just a standard dovetail drawer, and I'm using the Bloom 563Fs for tandem for drawer slides. Ends and backs panels, again, I had this set up in this profile of the Eden Valley. Notice the outside edge is set to none. That's for the simple reason that that outside edge, you don't want an outside edge in there if it's going to be your end panel of your cabinet. So if I look right here, I could change this end or this end. The wall cabinet would be this one here. Base cabinet would be this one here, but obviously it'd be sized accordingly. So I make sure that the outside edge is none on these, but it's got the same inside frame and panel profile. Material templates. This is one where, again, what are you building your cabinets out of? In this case here, this profile is originally set up with solid wood doors in a birch RP. RP is raised panel, and what that means is if I click on that, that means that the door is going to be made out of 3/4 inch cream birch, 3/4 thickness. The door panel is 3/4, door frame is 3/4, drawers 3/4. So it's all using the same materials. Now, one thing to kind of keep in mind, the reason I kept these all at 3/4 versus, say for example, my center panel is typically 5/8. Is you don't want to have a separate material in the library for that. So in my materials library, which is up in the libraries tab here, everything is set up for 3/4. Now, I don't start with 3/4, I start with 13/16, but this is just a generic form to keep track of the different materials. And so then you got drawers and trays, cabinet parts, things like that. Okay, standard cabinet materials. I have no idea why this one says oak, but we're going to change that. We're going to do birch. Okay. Textures. This is where you can change the texture of the base door, drawer face, wall door, exterior and interior. Now, I don't know exactly why you would want the door to be a different color than the exterior, but Mozaik gives you these options. For this case here now, within a couple of recent updates, Mozaik made these where you can change multiple at a time versus changing individually. I'm going to change this one right now because that's not really the color I'm looking for this one. So this is the library of colors. I have added colors to this with a different, where's the one I'm looking for here? With a different plugin that I got from a third party. Here we go. Alright, leave the interior the same. I'm going to change the molding here quick. Alright, so the molding now matches. This wall color is kind of wacky. Let's do khaki. And let's just change the countertop for entertainment purposes. These are all different textures that are preloaded. Let's stick with something like that. Okay. Hardware, I typically like to use in a medium brown. I like to use black. Seems to go well with it. We'll keep the floor the same. Okay. Now let's go into the room. So here's your floor basically, and I have the grid turned on. If you want to turn the grid off, you can just go into the room layers here and click on grid, and the grid will go off. I prefer to keep it on because that kind of helps with alignment a little bit. There is a quick room, which gives you all these different options of rooms that you can basically just click on one and then change your dimensions accordingly, but I find it's just as easy just to draw a quick room. Now if you hear some paper in the background, that's because I've already drawn this job, but I wanted to kind of do a printout here so I could redraw this job for you guys. So go back to room here. So I'm going to keep the room walls 108 inches high. Soffit, I'm going to change that to 12. Base cabinets 34, wall cabinets. We're not having wall cabinets in this job, so this is immaterial. Vanity cabinet, I want to do 34.5 for adult height, and everything else should be okay. So draw walls, click draw walls, and just take your mouse and pull it up. And I've got close to it, so I'm going to enter 84 on the keyboard. And then I need 121.375. Okay, and then to quit drawing walls, click the escape button. There you go. So now we have a room drawn. So we're going to go into products next. So in this here, basically, if you click on this menu here, these are all the different menu items to pull products from. So we got appliances, and then the V8, V12, and V10, that's just the different versions. When I started with this, Mozaik had version 8, and then they've advanced to version 10, and now they're in version 12. And periodically they do a library update for cabinets themselves, appliances, graphics such as windows and doors, electrical, lighting, things like that. In this case here, I've already kind of built somewhat of a library out of version 8, so I'm going to click on version 8 face frame cabinets. And these are all the cabinets They're sorted by base cabinets, wall cabinets, tall cabinets, vanity cabinets, specials, furniture tow, sub-assemblies, wainscot, and then below wainscot is just a bunch of miscellaneous cabinets that I've actually added into the library. And for whatever reason, Mozaik just actually drops it in the bottom of that library. And I'm assuming there's a way to sort it, but for now this works just fine. So if I wanted to, I'm going to just actually pull a cabinet out of the library. Vanity, we're just going to do a vanity sink base. Actually, we're going to do a tall first. We need a tall with a pair of doors. So click on that. And I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to drop it into the corner of the room. Just like that, okay? Now, if you don't prefer to drop cabinets or place cabinets in the floor plan view, you can also go to elevation by clicking on this button over here on the right hand side. It looks like a wall. And now you're viewing that wall. Now, for example, if you weren't clicked on the cabinet, you may see wall 1 first. But because I was clicked on the cabinet, it went to wall 2 right away. But if you go to, let's go back here. If you go to click on this button, it's not giving you the view. Like for example here, just use the arrows to find the wall you're looking for. Okay, so I want to make this cabinet here 25 3/8. So I can just go into the width here and enter 25.375. Enter. Okay. So that's good for now. I'm going to set the sink cabinet next to this quickly. So I'm going to go into the vanity cabinet, and this we're going to have to do some customization. Some people, especially a lot of big box cabinet companies, they would build this 60-inch vanity and maybe 3 cabinets. I'm just going to do it in 1. So I'm just going to pull a cabinet from the library, such as this one here. I'm just going to drag it over, and this will allow me to show you guys how to do some modifications here. So this cabinet has to be 60 inches, so 60, enter. Now, if, for example, if this cabinet wasn't snapped to this one, say it was over here someplace, and you entered a new dimension, a dialog box will pop up and it'll ask you which way you want to make the change, left, right, or both. And let me see if I can do that here. Nope, it didn't do that. So let me... let's just change this here. Let's do clearance 12. Okay, now if I change this here to 60, there we go. It's asking me if I want to do left, both, or right. In this case here, I'll just go left, just for entertainment, and now this gap has changed. Now, if you want to slide this cabinet back, if you take this arrow and you drag it, all you're doing is stretching the cabinet. But if you let's go back here. There we go. But if you want to move this cabinet, there's a couple ways you can do it. One is if you zoom in here, you can see you can take the cabinet and you can just drag it with the center arrow. Or if you go down here to the position, right now it says the clearance is 11 5/16. So you can see it says on dimension here, it also says clearance. You can just change it right here and enter 0, and now it'll snap the cabinet to the next cabinet or the wall or whichever it's going against. Okay, so let's do some modifications first. We're going to start with the vanity because that one's going to take a lot more. So to modify, if you can either double click on it or you can click on the edit button here, but the cabinet has to be highlighted. If the cabinet's not highlighted, you won't see anything here. So, alright, we're going to click edit. So there's a lot of things you can do right here with this cabinet. This is info basically. Right now it's saying it's 60 inches wide, height's 34.5. The depth is 24, but we need to change that. Vanities are typically 21, so I'm going to enter 21. Enter. Here's a good place if you, for example, want to set some mins and max for a specific product before it forces you to a different product line. That is a really good place to do that right here. This will allow you to set the parameters for this cabinet as far as like the minimum width or maximum width or height or depth. This I found to be really good. For example, I had a job about a year and a half ago, coming up on 2 years maybe, where we had a tray-based cabinet next to a range, and I think that cabinet was 8.5 inches wide. Well, that leaves a 5.5 inch opening, which makes a really narrow drawer on the top. And what I found out is it's not that we couldn't make the drawer. This is that when it came to the guides and the locking devices, it was a pretty tight fit. And I actually got really lucky. The narrow locking devices for the Bloom 563Fs just barely fit. So I actually had basically taken a single door with a drawer base cabinet, and I set it to have a minimum width of 10 inches, and anything under 10 inches it forces me to choose a different cabinet, and that's where I create a cabinet where it just has a door. Okay, info. Again, this is just basically other parameters you can check on: auto dimension, auto numbered, allow mirror. If you're doing grain matching, snap to's normal, end panels. Again, this is based on your job setting. If you need to override your doors, you can do it here. Same thing for your drawer fronts. Hardware overrides, material overrides. But really, what I'm after here is shape and face. So we're going to change the face first. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on the member. I'm just going to hit delete. And I want to basically have a drawer stack on the left and a drawer stack on the right with a pair of doors and a drawer front in the middle. So click inside the opening. You'll see here it says split. There's 3 different buttons. I can split this opening in half horizontally. I can split it vertically. Or if I click on this multi-directional split, it'll allow me to choose vertically or horizontally or vertically if I do 3 equal spaces. So I'm going to go this way. I had trouble with this once before, so I'm going to actually not do this. So I'm just going to click on this button here, and I'm just going to slide this over, and my original drawing said that's 14.5 inches. So right now it says it's 13. So I could try to drag it if I want. Sometimes it works, sometimes it wasn't. In this case it did. I'm just going to keep it like that. And then I'm going to click on the next opening, highlight it, and split it again. And I do not want that. I'm going to drag this over. And see, right now I've got these weird dimensions, so now it's moving in 1/4 inch increments. So here, click on the opening, go over here to width, 14.5, enter. Okay. And now I want to make this a stack of drawers, so I can actually go over here and do the 3, let's see, drawer front, drawer. Okay. You want to make sure that if you're putting drawers in there, you click on drawer, not drawer front. Drawer front is just a dummy. Click OK. I'm going to adjust this. Well, we're going to go back here to height. Change this to 5. And then this one here, 10 and 10. Same thing here. And we can do it the other way here. We just put one in there, 5 inch on top, and then split it again. There we go. And it's automatically drawer fronts. Okay. And then here I'm going to split this one. And first I'm going to change this here to a drawer front. Pull this up to 5 right there, and then change this one here from a drawer to a pair of doors. Okay. Let's go into interior. Now, if you didn't do partitions, you can leave it like this, but I like to put partitions in here. I don't want to open up this opening here and see the insides or the outsides of the drawers and the hardware. So just click in this or click in there, click the vertical split again, and this will automatically add a partition. And then I can just drag it over, get it close, and then if I go over here where it says lock to rail, I want to lock it to flush left. What that means is that this partition is flush with the inside edge of the face frame. This works out really well if you do side mounting drawer slides. And then same thing here. Get it kind of close, and then I'm going to say lock flush right. So that's it for the interiors on this. We got to change one other thing here. It's going to go in the shape. I want this cabinet over here to have a panelized end. One thing I'll do before that, though, I should point out, if you want to, let's pull up a different view here. If you go into View Product, let's expand this. Okay, this is your top view. You can select your different views here. I'm going to look at perspective. That way I can show any view I want. Here it says wire, and that means you can see the interior. There's a lot going on there. Some people like it, I don't. Go into hidden line, which is just basically a black and white stick drawing with a lot of detail. You can go into filled, and this is kind of more of like a visual. In this case here, I want this end to be a panelized end, but I also want to drop the styles to the floor. So, first of all, we're going to go into ends, this little button right here. Right now it says on my left end, it just says a left end, my right end just says a right end. So first I'm going to change the left end to unfinished, because that's going next to the cabinet. And one thing I like to do here as well, I can change that later, but one thing I need to do here is I want to unclick notch front toe, and I want to click run to floor, or to floor. And same thing for the right side. I want to unclick notch front toe and click to floor. Now you can see here, if you go back here, you can see the styles have run to the floor. I do have to make a change here though. Let's go back to face. That one is correct. Okay, this is correct. Never mind. Okay, so go back into shape. So anytime, like, you can see the front here's changed. So right now it says, if I go to side properties, it says it's a front face. I could change that to whatever I want, but I'm going to keep it to front face. This one here, I could have changed the end versus changing it in ends here, like I did here. I could have changed it by clicking on it and then going here and selecting the type. This side here, I want a door end or an applied end. So I click on this. I'm going to go down to applied door. Okay. And one thing I want to look at is, oops. Okay, this one's mitered. Okay, that's correct. Mitering is something fairly new, but I do need to change one thing here. As you can see here, the when you do an applied door, it automatically puts in a interior end panel, and then your exterior applied door gets fastened to that. And right now this style is only 1 1/4 inch. It should be 1 5/8. I thought it was set up, but it's not. So we're going to change that. So first of all, if you wanted to change, for example, the appearance, let's go back. If you wanted to change something, like change something with any of these components, you could do that. Just go into section, and it'll show you the side view. So you can change any one of these to any different dimension. But I'm going to keep that because that is correct. Okay, one last thing I need to do here. Go back in ends. I mentioned I wanted to change the scribe. I typically shouldn't need because it's going against a cabinet that should already be plumbed to the wall. But just for ease of installing drawer slides, I'm going to change this to 0.5, which will now make the side of the cabinet. Now let's do this. Top. Oops, come on. The top of the cabinet, or I'm sorry, the left side is now flush with the inside edge of the face frame. And you don't have to do that. I just prefer to do it because it's easier for mounting hardware. Okay, this cabinet is done. Yep, this is the way I want it. Okay, so we're going to keep this as is and save changes and click OK. Alright, now we need to edit this cabinet. We're going to do some very similar things here, but we're going to get more creative. Depth I'm good with because it's already 3 inches deeper than the vanity, so that means that the vanity countertop will not run past the front of the frame. Let's see what shape is. This one here should be, we're going to change that to unfinished. This one here we're going to change to finished. End. Okay. Face. Let's see. This one here should be okay. This one here, 1 5/8. That's correct. No, this one here should be 3 inch scribe. Okay. All right. Going to go into interior, so we'll keep an adjustable shelf on the top, but I'm going to, oops, I'm going to change these. Well, I'm going to attempt to. So it's loaded up with, I guess it'll let me do one at a time. Or we're going to delete these. How's that? And by the way, I'm just winging this video here. No script. Okay. So I've highlighted the opening. I'm going to go back here into this grid split here. And I'm going to split this into 4 equal sections. But before I go into that, I'm going to change what I want. What is the divider type? What am I dividing it with? I want to divide it with a tray. Click OK. And OK. And now I have... let's change that. I'm going to change this to 5. 4 pullouts, so it would be 5. Oops. Tray. There we go. And I'll just drag it down. There we go. These are always made adjustable, so it doesn't really matter here for this part. Let's look at it, see once if we're missing anything. Okay, we need to run the styles to the floor. Go back into face, go to ends. Okay, so remove notch, going to add toe to floor. Scribe 1 1/8, that's good. To floor, click OK, and that should be it. Let's look at, okay, save changes. Okay, one thing I changed here was this one here. I forgot to change that right style. Go back into face. This has to be 1.625. Here we go. Okay, the one thing I had to do here is I couldn't figure out why my original opening was not the same from my original drawing, is because I needed to go back and change the size. I was still working with the 58-inch vanity. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind, because if you go into face here, you can lock the top drawer size. Yeah, so you can lock these openings as well. Okay, so we've made all the changes, and we're gonna save changes. Click OK. The nice thing is, now with the cabinets set in place, there are some other things now that are really handy. Like, now I'm going to go add, if we go down the product, actually we need to add a sink yet. So we're going to finish adding the products to this room, and we're just going to go down to tops and molding. So this button here is kind of handy. This recenters. Okay. So we're going to add a sink to this cabinet and a faucet. So if I go into up here at the very top again, I'm going to go down the bottom where it says plumbing and electrical. I'm going to go into V12. And right away we have, these are some like quick, like common ones here. Sinks and faucets. So I'm going to do sink, undermount, bath. What's the difference between these two? This one right here. Okay, so this is the one I've selected, but in order to get in there, I have to take it from this little window here and drag it. And you can see it's kind of hidden here. So now you might be wondering, it's like, well, how do you get it over there? And how do you know where to put it? So the nice thing is, so I'm just going to kind of see if I can drag it. Yeah, okay, we're kind of close there. I'm going to lose it here pretty quick, but I'll show you how to retrieve it. If you go and click on the cabinet you're trying to put the sink in, down here it's telling me that the center is 55 3/8 from the left. So I want to make sure that that's where the sink is set at. But now the sink is gone. Well, it's not actually gone, it's just hidden. So this menu here where it says select item shows all the items in that room. So in this case here, I'm going to grab the room item. It's called undermount square. It'll show it's highlighted. And again, I want to make this 55.375. Okay. I typically like to outset it about 2 inches. And the other thing I'll do as well is I'm going to raise this up to 35.25. Reason being is that typically countertop like this here might only be 3/4 inch thick, but it's got a build up around the outside. And I like it as well when this shows up in the drawing. It doesn't have such a big, thick, beefy top texture to where it meets the sink. Okay. And we're going to add a faucet. So go into faucets, bathroom. Let's take a simple one. Yeah, we'll just grab this one here. Again, drag it into the room. Here it's hidden again. I see the green arrow. I'm just going to drag it, get it close. I'm going to use center point again, 55.375 from the left. And outset, I think I'm going to do 3 on this one. Okay. And then let's add a mirror quick. So that is in graphics. So the graphics version 12. And again, if you just scroll through this, you'll find different categories. I'm just going to do a beveled mirror. We'll just grab one of these. I'm just going to drag it into place. Now, again, it's kind of hidden. Let's see here. Center again is 55.375. And elevation, I know that is 42. I believe this mirror is 54. I did not take note of that on the drawing, so I'm going to change width to 54. Oh, okay. So it moves it to the right. So we're going to change this again, 55.375. Alrighty. Okay. Lastly, we're going to add a light fixture, plumbing, electrical. Let's see your sinks, faucets, electrical, lighting. Where do we got here? Lighting, bathroom. Oops, that's not what I want. We'll use this one. Take this one here, drag it over, and again I want center to be from the left, 55.375. Okay, and I need to change this mirror. Here we go. Oh, one last thing. We got to add a stool. Plumbing version 12. Faucets. Toilet. Well, toilets. Here we go. Toilet 3 is fine. Now take that and just drag it in the room here. Oh, here we go. We're sitting over here proud. I know that from the edge of the wall to the vanity is 36 inches, so I want that toilet to be centered in that. So I can actually reference from the right side here and say that I want center to be 18. There we go. So we have all of our fixtures in the room now. Now we're going to go into the next one called tops. Okay. I'm going to add a top here, but one thing I see here is that the plumbing is not setting here. So I'm going to make sure it's maybe turned on. So they go down to this 3 layers here. This is your layers button. You want to make sure that appliances are turned on. You want to make sure the box is checked. I don't know why it's not checked, but if you find out when you go to put your tops on and your sink cutout isn't popping up in the drawing, got to make sure you turn your appliances on. Appliances is basically any plumbing fixture, lighting fixture, actual appliances like refrigerator, stove, things like that. That is in the appliance category. I'm going to auto build tops. So if I just go in the top settings first of all, top thickness 1.5 inches, front overlays 1.5 inches, finished end overlays 1.5 inches. I want to point out this finished end overlay. You want to make sure that when you're putting your cabinets in the room that you do have your finished ends marked or actually marked as finished ends on the cabinet itself. If this cabinet here did not have a finished end on it, it would make the top flush with that, and then you have to edit that and change that. But in this case here, anytime a finished end is actually on the cabinet, it knows that here. Splash thickness, okay. Sink cutout overlay, this is just dependent on the sink itself really. Okay, so we're going to auto build tops, and right now a dialog box comes up, wants to know how you want the cutout to be. So I want this overlay on this particular sink 0, sec bet from front 0, and radius quarters I believe is 0.25. Click enter. Okay, so we have this gray area. Now if you want to do a quick view, you can click on this 3D button. This is the first time we're using this here. We're going to do filled. And I'm just using this orbit feature right now. I'm just moving the mouse around and using the wheel to zoom in. This is pretty much what I'm looking for right here. So this, oh, we need to put a door here yet. But this is kind of what we're looking for here. So actually I'm going to do one more thing here as long as we're in here. I'm going to move this around a little bit. So now I've kind of got the orientation right, but I want to raise it. So if you click on the hand button, now the hand will allow you to move left or right, up or down without changing the orbit. And we'll do, I will back out one. There we go. Now if you click up here, it says views. There's nothing there right now. So if I click this button here, if I click save, it's going to ask me to name this particular view. I'm just going to call it 1. just to keep it simple. Click OK. So now, if I move it way over here, and I go over here and click on the drop domain, click on number 1, it's going to bring it back. That's probably one of the most key features I can tell anybody about this built-in 3D viewer. If you have a view you like, make sure you save it. Because if you change your orientation, want to go back to it, you have one to go to. And then you can also change to wireframe, hidden. A lot of times I use hidden. I'll turn this one off here as well. Turn off SketchUp models. I'll use this for like a 3D drawing for shop drawings. And again, I can call this one 2. So I can go between 1 or 2. Okay. Let's go into add molding quick. So again, molding settings. My default, the crown molding comes down 1.5 inches from the top edge of the top of the cabinet. These are chair rail heights, default custom molding height, things like that. But we're just really talking about crown molding. So I go and automatic mold 1. So to bring up a dialog box, and here are the different types of molding and the applications we're doing: ceiling, crown, light rail, chair rail, and baseboards and toe skins. So we do toe skins for sure, but we want to make sure we click on crown molding. So when I click on that, then you can choose and pull from the dialog box here. And these are a lot of them ones already loaded from Mozaik, but you can also draw your own as well, which maybe I'll get into in a video later on. But a lot of these, you know, these are all identified from Mozaik. And I'm just going to do a classical crown. Here we go, crown classic. Click on that, click OK. Let's make sure moldings are turned on. Okay. Crown mold. There we go. Maybe it helps to click OK. So now if I look at 3D view, we can see we've got the crown molding on top now. And again, I can, you know, look at different views, zoom in. Oops. Just like that. So, let's see here. And there's one thing I need to check. I'm gonna go back and now check one thing here. I'm gonna edit this face. Oh, that's why it's off. Okay, this needs to be 2.75. Okay, save. Much better. Let's go back to view 1. All right. So that is pretty much it. And now if you wanted to do a presentation drawing, which I won't really get into in this video, but if you bought the package from Mozaik where you've got the rendering plugin from Aerial View or from Render Plus, it's called Aerial Vision, I believe, which is this button right here. It'll launch a plugin that'll actually make this look a lot more realistic. And I'll show eventually how to get there. I know the thumbnail kind of showed it, but I'll show you as far as how I got there. But for depending on your customers, your clientele, this may actually just be enough. In fact, I can actually take this one step further. Let's go add a little bit more detail here. Let's go to Draw Mold. I want to do baseboard. I'm going to click on the baseboard. I'm going to do Classic. I'm going to show you actually how to draw molding. So if you do automatic baseboard or automatic mold, this case here would just butt joint the two it needs. But what I found out is if you actually have outside corners, it'll really run the mold to the edge and not miter it. So I've learned drawing the moldings easier. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You just basically snap the green dot, drag it to the cabinet, just like that. Hit escape. Yes. So it's got that one done. And then I'm going to do over here as well. And it goes from right to left. I'm sorry, left to right. Crown baseboards, classic. I'm going to just snap up to the corner of the cabinet in the wall, drag it over, get to the end, click the left mouse, escape, yes, and we're done. Now if I go into 3D view, we have baseboard. And you can change the texture of that as well if you want. The original drawing, I actually had a door here, but you know, again, we're just trying to show the bathroom vanity and linen cabinet here. So that is basically a simple tutorial on, you know, setting cabinets and doing some minor modifications. Depending on where this video goes, maybe I'll do some more in depth. I do plan on doing going over some basic rendering, and then also another video, separate video on doing the shop drawings as well, because I've found that Mozaik has some really useful shop drawings. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Questions and comments are welcome. Thanks for watching.